What's up, folks? Glad you came back for another one. This is a subject that I've wanted to have a conversation for actually probably since I started doing Christianese. What's the story of a person that wasn't necessarily connected to the gospel, but got connected to the gospel? But there was a testimony that came to mind that I thought, dang, that's one that would be a fun story to hear. Probably details that I don't know yet, but I think we're going to find out together today. We're going to hear the testimony of the one and only Cory Shinn today on Christianese. So tune in, listen up. You ready to roll? I hope so. Let's roll. Hi, brother.
Howdy, howdy.
So, I know all y'all out there in the interwebs can't see what we're looking at, but we are right now. we're sitting. Edit button, maybe.
Sean Connery.
We'll see. We're sitting on the Deschutes River, family vacation, hanging out, and somehow a microphone hopped into my bag. And
there it was.
There it was.
Meant to be.
But no, Cory and I talked. I asked you a month ago if you would give your testimony, get your story, not to use too much church language, but your story about how God impacted and has drawn you into Himself. I don't know if I'd say again, but maybe again. And to kind of preface this discussion, there has been many years that you have not walked the story of what would be called a Christian in today's world, or many worlds as they were. But now it's vastly different. So I guess maybe start with what were you like? Let's say 10 years ago versus today.
10 years ago. Well, I had recently separated from the Air Force, so I still had kind of a military mentality of, well, I can't just say military mentality. It was also career field mentality. I was in munitions, which is kind of, I mean, you look at blue collar, and munitions is the blue collar of the Air Force, really. I mean, I can't just, there may be another listener out there that has, been in some sort of other more manly and more blue collar military field than myself. And those exist. But, so really munitions is just a bunch of roughneck guys and
tough guys.
Yeah, tough guys, and it's some women that are tough guys too. But it's not a very attractive world to most people.
When
really.
You're thinking of going into the military, you're not thinking, I think I'll go make bombs.
Right. There's that. I didn't even go in for that.
No, you didn't.
Just joining so I could have something to do because, I didn't really have a direction for my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, 10 years ago, I was.
And I guess what I'm getting at, like, what was your behavior as it would reflect? Would you say that you were walking with Jesus at that point?
Definitely not. Yeah. I had more of that fake thing going on that most true followers of Christ can spot from a mile away. I had that going on.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
yeah. Yep.
Because I knew what I needed to look like in the right crowds. I knew who I could have a potty mouth around and who I needed to watch my mouth around.
Yeah.
And that's a dangerous thing.
Sure.
It's that slippery slope of any sin really is just taking off the little nibbles bite by bite, and after a while you've eaten the whole elephant. It's just a small ugly sin that turns into bigger lifestyle changes and makes you ugly, hideous. It's gross. It's a disgusting lifestyle to look at from the outside. Or as a Christian, it's a disgusting lifestyle to look at.
As I would even go a little further than to say Christian, but to say Christ follower, the term
Christ
you used
follower,
before.
yes.
Because like in today's world, somebody can say, yes, I'm a Christian, but what does that really mean? And if I'm hearing you right, you hadn't adopted that fully and began to live in that lifestyle and that submission. About I don't know, maybe you have a date, but I don't have a date. Somewhere in the last year and a half or so, there was I wouldn't say a switch flipped, but there was like
shift.
there was a yes moment of sorts.
Yeah.
That you kind of went, I think, yeah, it's time. I'm in, and you just kind of like, this is the 30-foot deep end of the pool. I'm going there. I'm not jumping into the wading pool. Right. I'm gonna jump in. What caused that?
Well, diving into the wading pool, there's a higher risk of breaking your neck. No,
you shouldn't.
So you need more to dive into. No, that was, well, man. There's been a lot that has happened actually just in the last 10 years, but divorce being in the mix, that is part of it, and that's a whole big can of worms that can get opened up. But sure. That's just in that. But just as the more recent year and a half, 2 years thing, I really don't know. Like you said, it wasn't much of a switch. I look back on it and see it more of just kind of slowly realizing, wow, things are not where they need to be, and because of our childhood, growing up, we grew up in the church, and I knew because that foundation is there. Yeah. And especially, I accepted Christ as an early child, young kid. Yeah. So I don't know that I ever went as far as I never really said I am just going to deny God. I can look back and I never said I'm going to deny God exists. Never let myself get to that point. I just walked away from him.
Yeah, and even though you say that, and I'm thinking of times where I never heard you deny him, but you definitely, and this might be a good thing for Christians, Christ followers to engage in, is kind of going to that Need to Breathe song, that I hope we're asking questions till the day. You went, I don't know that this is actually at all real. Right. I'm going to ask questions. And some people around us were offended, maybe would be the right word, by that. But you were like, I don't know about this. So I think I'll investigate some other stuff and see how it compares, was my observation. Right. Would you say that was kind of an accurate assumption?
That is very accurate. Yeah. Yes. I have a very inquisitive mind. I like to know things. I like to know how things work. It's almost like a science-based kind of mind, but I love science, yes, but I just like to know factually that things are what they say they are. And I did struggle with that a lot. I struggled with how is God what he says he is? How is God who he says he is? How is God different from Buddha? Any of the other, how is this different? I needed to know. I wanted to find this stuff out, and it was never really, it was more of just, I don't know.
The Sunday school answers weren't enough.
Yeah, it wasn't. That's exactly it. I needed more than a Sunday school answer.
I gave a good answer for your answer?
You did.
I'm winning.
You are. That's exactly it. And I think that my brain didn't want the normal Christianese. Did I just plug your podcast? On your podcast?
Hashtag.
So, I think that's really a lot of it, is I needed a lot more than just as a baby Christian, I needed more than milk. I wanted to be chewing on something, and I wasn't being given that because, back in those days, we're given Sunday school to go to. And it's just what we do.
Yeah.
You know, parents put their kids in Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it worked out. So I guess I took the wrong paths to find my own meat.
Mm-hmm.
But man, once I did find that real meat, how satisfying it was.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Like, today there's
Hey,
Tracy's
dogs.
dogs are hanging out with us.
Look at that.
Our sisters. Hi, Bruce. Hi, Ranger. Oh,
You went the wrong way, buddy.
Oh,
Okay,
boy.
scrooch around. There you go.
Hi, Ranger. Dang it. The
Yeah.
dogs distracted me.
That's one of the things I was afraid of.
Yeah. What were you saying?
I don't know. See, you get a couple of ADHDers together and some distractions come in.
Distractions.
Oh,
okay. You were talking about meat
and how satisfying.
Well, today there's this quote unquote manufactured meat. They can quote make meat,
right?
And they say every bit as nutritious, but a fake thing is never as satisfying as the real thing,
right? And
so, like, if I want a ribeye, I want a rib eye, like a rib that's got an eye. No, they don't have an eye, but
no,
like I want the real thing. I'm not going to be satisfied. It's not going to give me all the value that a soy meat is going to give me.
Some lovely tofu.
Oh, some lovely tofurkey.
It'll get you. It'll get you all the way. Nope, sure won't. Right. It's the satisfying real meat.
Yeah. So how did you, and I know everybody's got their own story on how they came to, this is real meat. How did you come to that realization that the meat that God, the God of the Bible, let's be clear on which God we're talking about. The God of the Bible is providing real meat.
Sustenance.
Yeah.
The true sustenance for my soul. Man, I have to throw out a big shout out to Pastor Brett. Pastor Brett Metter is an amazing teacher. I absolutely love the way that he teaches. Yeah. It clearly hits a lot of people because there's a lot of people that stay tuned to follow along with what is being talked about at the pulpit, and Pastor Brett goes through the Bible chapter by chapter, book by book. It's every word is spoken and then broken down. He talks to us and tells us, "Hey, this is what this means," and hearing at a different level of, this is not this is not just a Sunday school story. This has a whole lot of backstory to it. This has a whole lot that happened because of it. There's consequences, and it's amazing just the way that he really gave me something more to digest. Yeah, was how I knew, okay, this is real meat, because it wasn't just I go and I get the word. It was I go and I get the word, and then I want to go and get more of it myself. Yeah. I'm always hungry for more, but I do get that satisfaction. It's not. Yeah. Stella has said this on that same note, that other places we've been in church, it's pre-digested. Yes. Versus, when we're talking about steak, and I'm going to be hungry, even though Tracy's making chicken tonight, it's fine. It's meat. Food enough. It's food enough. Tracy's our sister, by the way. And she said that other sermons are pre-digested meals versus having meat that you consume yourself to an extent, and it's like going to our church and hearing the teaching. It's like the chewing that happens in your mouth, but then your body has to break it down even more. You're digesting it instead of having baby food and it's pre-digested and you don't have to do anything with it. It makes it more intrinsic to where you actually have it not only in your mind, but then it becomes wisdom and food for the soul. Right. Yeah. And, just I don't like really tooting my own horn, but it's putting into practice.
Mhm.
You know, that's something that I've struggled with throughout life, is putting into practice what I have learned. And that's how wisdom really happens, is it's not just knowledge, but it's putting into practice.
Right. Yeah.
Wisdom.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's a whole lot that I have put into practice with things that are non-biblical, and I have wisdom in those areas.
Sure.
Yet I had all this Bible knowledge. It's still up in here jumbling around and rattling, but it didn't all come together and make a whole lot of sense until that turning point of really knowing that I have to let the Holy Spirit work on me with those words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing you said, that one major thing was the teaching style of Brett Metter. Link in the show notes. I'll make sure. Hopefully, I remember to put that in there. To some Athey Creek teachings, because Brett is a really good teacher. What's something else? I mean, obviously, when we get that, oh man, I gotta switch things up. It's never just a one factor deal.
No.
So one factor for you was the teaching that came. What else was something that came as a result of, or that pointed you towards? I would throw out the churchy term repentance, turning away and turning a different direction. What's something else?
I knew I needed to turn from letting myself run my own life. Big shock. I'm not as good at it as our maker.
No way. No way.
Something else that put me in that mindset was just watching my entire life crumble in front of me, and strangely enough, wondering how. Like I know why, but at the same time, I'm wondering, why is nothing right in my life? How is everything falling apart? That drove me to, okay, I know what's right. I know that my focus is off here. I know that I need to be looking to the Lord. I can do a lot of damage to my own life on my own.
So you kind of gave up the definition of insanity,
yes,
doing the same thing over and over again. So and feel free. So we didn't script this one, just for everyone's reference point. So whatever you don't want to say, don't say. But for the relatability of other people, what are some of the things that fell apart for you? And maybe if you want to, whatever you feel comfortable. What? I don't even know what I'm asking right now. See, I need a script. That's why I'm struggling.
But this makes it more raw and real, so that's a good thing.
Yeah. At least I'm not crying again.
Yet.
What were the things that your life looked like, and what were some of the indicators to you that you needed to change?
Well, I'll just go back to while I was actually still in the Air Force, there was a good period of time where I drank quite heavily. I had blown out my knee, and it was my pain meds. It was more than pain meds for my knee. It was pain meds for my life. I was trying to, every Friday and Saturday night, just drink away everything. Wow. I was just in a lost. That's the best way to put it. I had no direction.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm picturing kind of your state, and it was kind of like wandering but standing still. Like, I don't know where to turn. This is here. I'm going to this.
Yes. Kind of a turning around in circles, looking at different options and reaching out and grabbing at different things. Really. That.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people could relate to that, whether it's themselves or someone close to them or someone in their past.
Right.
What was there anything else that was part of that journey?
getting to the point of being a wow, that was just I did bring my water out.
Oh, look at you. You were smarter than me.
Like anything else that may have led me to that point, is that
I guess what I'm trying to look for is, I mean, like, the gospel is pretty simple. Everyone's broken.
We are.
We need to be fixed in a soul sense. Our behavior is a reflection of that. So what were the behaviors that were reflecting an unrepentant and unsaved and ungospel affected life?
Gotcha. That's I was a very angry person. I have put several holes in walls. I would just act out of my anger in very childish ways, throwing big tantrums. And wow, it's just sad and pathetic. Like a grown man basically looking like a 4-year-old in the grocery store, screaming that he can't get his chalky milk. Chalky milk, chocolate milk. Yeah, anger problems was huge. I had a lot of bitterness towards myself for not understanding why I was letting my life just basically go to crap. I really didn't like me because of where I was headed. But at the same time, holding on to so many things that I knew were sinful, and I knew that they were separating me from God. But it was just a choice. Hey, I like this. Sin is fun for a while, but be sure of this: it will find you out. And when it does, that's the day. That's the day that you start realizing I need to point out my other sins and confess these other sins before they get out of hand and and they find me out in an ugly way. Another outwardly sign was I didn't step up as a man in my marriage. I didn't do basically anything that God calls a man to do in marriage, loving his wife as Christ loves the church.
Yeah, we grew up, obviously we grew up in the same household. Maybe not obviously, but we grew up in the same household. Our dad was our dad, and he modeled stuff
very well.
I mean, flawed, obviously.
Yes,
he's a human, just like both of us are. But he modeled that, and so there was that. It's that head knowledge. I know, just based on that, you didn't have you. I don't think when you guys were still married that you could have referenced to love your wife like Christ loved the church. You couldn't have referenced that verse, but you had dad as a reference point. So in that sense, you knew, but it was not intrinsic. What changed to say, I'm going to be a man now? And I mean, you could use the Sunday school answer and say, Jesus, but maybe let's go further than that. And if you say that answer, why or how?
Sunday school answer, Jesus.
I like how you went with the high pitch like I did. That was pretty funny.
It has to happen that way because you have to be Sunday school to answer that. Jesus. But that is legit. When you get that, peace that is only provided by knowing Jesus, and fully allowing him to run and control your life. That's a different kind of pleasure and fun than the sin fun. It's an out of this world experience.
So you said a term that gets we throw that out, and I think most Christians know what we mean by I know Jesus,
right.
But I think people that aren't in the Christian dynamic, having a relationship with Creator Almighty God, they hear that and you're like, and they just kind of go, what are you even talking
Well,
about? So what do you mean when you
Okay,
say
so
that?
dude, like you said, we grew up in the same household,
Mhm.
and there's the Sunday school church. Jesus is the answer. Yes, and
Yeah.
we know that it's in our heads. It's in our heads. It's in our heads
Yeah.
all our lives.
Right.
And even though I went away, I had the knowledge, but I never had that my part active relationship
Mhm.
where I was seeking and wanted to know more
Mhm.
about who made me,
Mhm.
why he saved me
Mhm.
from being of this world, because we're in it, we're not supposed to be of it. He set us apart. And actually this morning, one word just really stood out. Chosen. It hit me like it's never hit me before.
Mhm.
Chosen.
Mhm.
It's always just, to me, been okay. Well, God has his people. God has his people. Those are God's people. No, God chose.
Mhm.
Like it, the creator of all of this said, "You are mine."
Yeah.
How exciting can that be? And
Yeah.
you want that relationship with the one who chose you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the closest we can come to that, it would be in terms of like human interaction. Jesus was and is was man, right? When he walked the earth, 33 years of living, he was a human. Stumbled the way we stumbled without sin. Or I just watched that. But we can find Hebrews later and read it in that book. But the closest then that we get would be maybe a husband and wife. Like Raylan chose to marry me. She had a choice in the matter.
Right.
But then we also have the crazy dynamic that while we didn't choose our kids, we choose to engage with them. And there's a reason God is as a triune being, is in us, the Spirit, the Savior of us, Jesus, who is also there at creation, and our Father. He's our parent.
Mm-hmm.
In a crazy, like, I don't have words for it type of a way, because
there are no words for it.
There's probably not. Maybe we should learn Greek or something.
That's an idea.
We would let's do that tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, no, that's
No.
not going to happen. But he's choosing to be in relationship with us because he can, and the love that he has for his creation is his character. Mm-hmm. He is love, and he wants that participation that you mentioned. He wants that participation with his people, and he chose us. I mean, what's the most famous verse that we see at football games? John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only son, that whosoever believes in him should not die, should not perish, go to hell, but have everlasting life. But you hit something that was separate and yet linked to that, is that what did you say? He saved us from our life of fallenness and brokenness. Mm-hmm. It's not merely, I think this is where people get that Christianity is just another moral improvement plan, because it makes us better. If we follow the rules of Christianity, we're going to be nicer people. Well, that's crap, because I know a lot of people that go to church that are heinous.
Yes.
Horrible people, and they should probably go to church more often.
Maybe just hear what's being preached.
Maybe they should not fall asleep there.
That's an idea. Stop knitting, pay attention. I don't know, whatever.
Well, there's that one lady that does that.
She does listen.
She listens and she takes notes.
Yes,
while she's knitting. I don't understand that, but my brain doesn't work the same as hers. More power to you. I don't know your name, but if you hear this,
good job.
I'm glad you're doing it. You're nailing it, lady.
May I copy your notes? Yeah. They're probably better than mine, because with your multitask. Anyhow, we're off topic here.
We've never done that,
but we appreciate that.
Well done.
It is that he saved us from the world and ourselves and our sin that is nature. But I mean, okay, beyond that too, though, he saved us for something. Mm-hmm. So that goes to to me, that helps with why did he save me? Okay, I'm saved, but okay, cool. It's heaven. I'm going to heaven. There's got to be more to it than that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, don't. Now it sounds like I'm belittling heaven and what it's not what I'm saying. That's the end goal here.
There.
That's right. We're not there. We're here right now. So we are saved for taking more to heaven.
Right.
So how, Lord? Show me how to be your tool. I want to work for you. This is, I can't look at my life and say that I have ever been the person who guides a person to the Lord. I've never taken a person to that prayer even, but I look at myself now and I just hope that when someone looks at me, they see something different and say, I hope that I can someday have what he has.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily need to be the person guiding someone else to the Lord. I now see that I just need to reflect God, and hopefully that will impact someone.
Well, I mean, I think we often think of somehow, I got to say the magic prayer with someone.
Mm-hmm.
And while it might be a foundation for someone, it can also mean that, one time I did that, whatever. I know lots of people like that. Yeah, when I was 5, I said that prayer, whatever. It doesn't mean anything. I don't know what their next steps are, but there's also the effect that you have on another, a fellow believer's life that, like I told you this last night, but I think it might benefit the airwaves and our friends that are sitting here with us, that like Dad said last night when you were playing with our nephew, he goes, that is a different man. And it encouraged our dad because of the years that he spent praying for you, because you were out there living a heinous life until you submitted to what the gospel truly means.
Right.
That's a different man. And so Dad's a believer. He's a follower of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And you encouraged him by not words. So
action.
By just being, you were playing with our nephew. That's not challenging.
No, not at all. In fact, that's where the true pleasure and joy in life is
oftentimes
following the Lord and kind of being that being the example that doesn't necessarily need words, because
Mm-hmm.
I use a lot of words.
Mm-hmm.
I talk a lot. I'm a mouth. Admittedly, not everything that comes out of my mouth is fantastic, but
that's one way to put it.
I really hope that it's always going to be my actions that are the example that people say, okay, so he's got a mouth that goes a lot, but look at the guy and look. That's what I mean. I don't want it to be about me. I want people to look at me and say there's something different about him. Mm-hmm. And I don't just mean people that have known me. I mean people that spot me just randomly and say, hey, that stranger over there has something different about him. Mm-hmm. So, yes, hearing that from Dad, hearing that he was encouraged, that's a huge encouragement to me, but it's at the same time kind of hard for me to hear. And I guess I say hard it was hard to reflect back and understand why he would say that's a different man. Mm-hmm. Because if he's saying that, then he definitely recognized the show I was trying to put on that I mentioned before, trying to be the right Christian, as I air quote here, do the right thing, know who I can say their things are, the false. He saw it. Yep. Right through it, as I'm sure all of you did. Mm-hmm. Very well. Good on you. I'm glad. And that is encouraging to hear that was spotted, as well as what God has done in me and how he's changed me.
Yep.
Because
It's his story.
with I think myself and a lot of people, what is most motivating is momentum. It's kind of hard to get going on something like it's kind of hard to get going on a big change in your life that has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you start seeing, let's just take the gym for example. You go to the gym for 2 days, you don't see any change.
Mm-hmm.
But you know that something is going to change eventually if you keep going. So 2 months later, you start seeing results. That makes you happy. You then, wow, okay, this is great, and you are then motivated to continue. I think that's just the way a lot of people's brains work. Sure. So when you then start having your eyes open, for me anyway, when I had my eyes then open to what more work I was allowing myself to see the Lord had done in my life, how he's been working, where he's pulled me from, where he has me now, and the joy in the unknown of where he's going to take me rather than being afraid of that. And that's another thing I can touch on a little bit after, but seeing that the change, seeing some momentum, that's what keeps me rolling. Understanding this is all something God's going to want to use, all of it, every little bit of it. This is his work, but I need to be open to how he's going to use me.
We're all vessels,
right?
We're all like the pots of what is it called? The pots of earthen vessels.
Vessels,
like King James likes to use. We're just these giant clay pots, and we crack easily, but our cracks can be fixed, and we can be useful and valuable, but they're not really that cool unless you consider how they're made, and what they're made for. And every pot looks a little bit different, and and they are used for different things. A pot for carrying water is totally different than a pot that makes soup.
Right.
So you might be one type, and I'm another type, and brother-in-law over there is another type, and everybody's a different type of pot, but it's all useful. And your story is useful, especially the more authentic you are to it, and the truth of it, that it's like you said, it's not just your change, it's how your change impacts that of another human soul for drawing them into that beautiful gospel. Not drawing them into church. I have to make that point, that church isn't what saves people. Church is meant to disciple people that are Christ followers, and it might be a place that people can go to find their rescue. I mean, it's a hospital for sick people. That's why it's full of hypocrites. Let's be truthful. But making disciples is outside of those walls in general.
Right. And my first ministry is at home. My boys. That's where I really want to be reflecting Christ. That's the struggle for me is, am I being the example that I need to be at home? That's one that I'm always very hard on myself about, and I take that role more seriously than I do my job. I mean, that's just it. Those are the first people that I want to see. I want them first to see that God is who he says he is. And I mean, they're all grown up enough to have seen a whole lot of garbage from me, and then a whole lot of change, and them understanding that it's not me changing, it's God changing me.
The one who never changes is changing the one who changes.
Right. Them having an understanding means that I did actually do something right in my teachings to them initially, even though I was not walking with the Lord properly.
Yeah.
I was still putting on that front and that show, but they still got something out of it because God is good. God
Amen.
gave them things from my poor walk that they learned from.
Yeah.
That's how good God is.
God is good. All the time.
All the time. God is good.
All the cliches that we could find.
We can Christianese this thing all day.
We probably could, and then we'd just be more annoying to, well, me anyway.
But what if we just did that? And no, let's not.
Let's not. I find that this conversation, I think, has benefit. I think the purpose that you are showing is a good thing, and I think that for what it's worth, I think folks can gather something that means something to their walk with Jesus, and hopefully that is translating into another person's soul. They're not watching because we're not on YouTube. No one needs to ever see me on YouTube.
They don't
but
look at this action going on.
Yeah. So purpose, submission, those are the key terms that, I mean, I don't think you even said those words, but that, again, going back to the action versus words thing, it's being on purpose with recognizing God's story in your life and letting yourself just be a reflection of it, with whether words are there or not. So I'm grateful that we could hang out on the Deschutes. That doesn't suck.
On the Deschutes.
On the Deschutes. But we can go have family time too, and it's a good thing. So, friends, thanks again for listening in with, well, this time the Shinn brothers, and hanging out with us. Hopefully it's a blessing to you. I'll talk to you on the next one. Will you talk to him on the next one?
I could be around.
Hey,
I liked this. This is
we
good
can do
times.
another one. Probably won't be on the Deschutes.
Probably not.
All right. Well, I love them. Do you love them?
I do love
Okay,
them.
good.
God made them. I love them. Thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah. Glad to have you. We'll talk to you next time. I love you.